Okay, so we're back at step 7 of this apple, and it's telling us to make some highlights. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to create a new layer, and I have a new layer created all the way at the top, and I've named it Highlight 1. I'm going to grab the elliptical marquee tool, and I'm going to basically draw a circle around this dent at the top, even it out a little bit, and I'm going to fill this with white. And now it's saying to make a bigger elliptical selection as shown. So we want to make sure we're looking at the image. And then we're going to hit delete. So I'm basically going to come over here with another elliptical marquee tool. I'm going to make it bigger than the one we just made. But I wanted to leave a little bit of that white sticking out of the bottom here. And that's what's going on over here. And then we're going to press delete. And that's what we're looking for. Deselect, Command D, and then go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. You're going to use Gaussian Blur a lot with a radius of 10 pixels. All right, so now we have a nice little soft highlight right below the dent. And step 8 is going to ask us to make another highlight, and this one is going to be right above the dent. So I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to call this one Highlight 2. And same thing, elliptical marquee tool, is selected. I'm going to get this circle drawn or oval drawn below the top edge of my apple. I'm going to fill it with white. And then I'm going to use another ellipses to delete part of that. And you'll just need to be aware that I'm going to delete this. But I also have this white chunk at the bottom that I need to make sure I get deleted too. I don't want to have two highlights on the front. So now I've got the two highlights where they're supposed to be, one from highlight 1 and one on highlight 2 layer. And then I'm going to deselect that and go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur with a radius of 8. All right, there you go. I'm going to scroll down here a little bit and we're going to go to step 9. Now create a new layer below highlight 1. So whenever I do that, if it's telling me to go below, I'm just going to drag it down and below highlight 1 and name it black. Now, this is something where the direction is a little hidden here. As you can tell from the name, we are going to fill it with black. If you miss that, you're going to miss out on a big chunk here. So you need to go to your paint bucket tool, make sure black is the foreground color, and you're just going to click anywhere to fill it with black. Now select black, highlight 1 and highlight 2 layers in the layer palette and merge them by hitting, so I'm just holding the shift key to select all 3, by hitting Command E, and that will combine them all into the same layer. I'm going to go to Filter, Brush Strokes, Spatter, set the spray radius to 6 and the smoothness to 14. I'm going to hit OK. And now it's asking me to Command click. So again, whenever it says that, you're going to hold down the Command key and you're going to click on the layer thumbnail. Not on the actual layer itself, just on the thumbnail to load that circle back up. I'm going to go to Select, Inverse. So now, before it was the apple that was selected, now everything but the apple is selected, and I'm going to press Delete. I'm going to set the layer blend mode. Blend mode is up here to Screen, and then I'm going to deselect. Okay. Step 10, create a new layer above dots. I'm going to move that layer above dots. I'm going to fix my mistake I just made. I'm going to move that layer above dots. Try it again. Above dots, there we go. And I'm going to call this red. Grab the elliptical marquee tool, make a selection as shown. Just like this, I'm going to make a circle here. And I'm going to fill that with this color, FFBE 00. Okay, I'm going to go to my paint bucket tool and I'm going to click right in there. I fill that. I'm going to command click the apple layer. So I'm holding down the command key and I'm going to click on the apple layer thumbnail to load the Marching Dancer on that. And I'm going to go to blur, filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and I'm going to set the radius to 50. And now I'm going to set the blending mode to hue. All right, deselect by pressing Command D. Step 11, I'm going to make a slightly bigger yellow chunk here. So I'm going to do a new layer. I'm going to put it right below red. I'm going to call it yellow. I'm going to make another circle. I'm going to make this guy a little bit bigger. And I'm going to fill this in with FFFF, FFF, one too many, 444. And I hit OK. I'm going to go to my paint bucket, fill that in. I'm going to command click the apple layer thumbnail again to load that selection. I'm going to go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and apply the radius of 50. I'm going to hit OK. And the layer blending mode to hard light. Also, the opacity is going to drop down to 75. Deselect by pressing Command D. Okay, great. Looking good. Step 12, I'm going to do this step and step 13 and 14, and then we'll be done with this video. Create a new layer on top and name it Reflection. I'm going to drag this guy all the way to the top and I'm going to call it Reflection. I'm going to go to my rectangular marquee tool. I'm going to draw a rectangle and fill it with white. This should all be kind of coming together and making sense to you guys. I'm going to change that to white, fill this bad boy in. And then I'm going to use the rectangular marquee tool again to clear these two window pane lines. So I'm going to just draw a real skinny rectangle. I'm going to press delete. I'm going to draw another real skinny rectangle. I'm going to move that down just a little bit and press delete again. Now I have kind of the start of this window thingy going on. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and deselect. Go to the layers palette and add a layer mask to the reflection layer by clicking the add layer mask button. You can see it circled right here. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to grab the gradient tool. Again, that was mixed in with the paint bucket tool, gradient tool. I'm going to set it to a linear gradient. And I have black and white going on over here, so it should be good to go. Let's see. Fill the layer mask with the gradient, as you can see below in this image. So what it's telling you to do is to click and drag up right by the window. So watch my little mouse here. I'm just south of the window. I'm going to click and drag. And I did it the wrong way. Command Z, I'm going to go back a step. I'm going to click and drag from the top down. Sometimes I don't get it right the first time, you know that. Perfect. That's what I want to see. It's just a little variation on that white block. And so I'm going to go to, and then after I have done that, I'm going to, the layer mask is now selected or has been selected. That's where we just laid that gradient down. But it wants us to go back to the layer thumbnail. So I'm going to click on that layer thumbnail. So that's selected. I'm going to go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur again with a radius of 8. I'm going to hit return and edit, transform, warp. Edit, transform, warp. And I'm going to come up to the top here. I'm going to select arc with a bend of -20. That's all up the top. And so you can see here that that mimics the image that they have going on. And I'm going to press return to set that. Okay. Number 14, create a new layer on top and call it backlight. Command click the Apple layer thumbnail. So again, that's holding down the command key and clicking on the Apple layer thumbnail and fill that selection with white. So I'm still on this backlight layer is still selected as blue, but I have that marching ant selection from the Apple layer, and it's going to tell me to fill that whole layer with white. So I'm going to go back to my paint bucket and click and fill that with white. Make sure the marquee tool is selected. Doesn't matter which one at this point. And you're going to move the selection about 10 pixels to the left using the left arrow key. So literally all you're doing is pressing the left arrow key 10 times. Just trust that it's doing the right thing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then now hit delete to clear. Command click the Apple layer again. And go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. And apply the radius of 7. And hit return. Hit Command D to deselect. So really all you've done at this point is you've just made a nice little highlight on the edge. It's called backlight. It happens with most three-dimensional objects. There's light that wraps around from the back, but it shouldn't be on the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to your eraser tool, and we're going to set the master diameter to 270 and the hardness at 0. And we're just going to, as you can see in the image, it's just going to have you erase some of that backlight away off the bottom. So I'm just going to kind of swing it like that a little bit. That's it. All right, that's enough for now.